Space Corps goes orbiting by. He left a loving family and the town he called his own, departed through the cosmos where no earthly seeds are sown. In search of that elusive tool, he gave his life to try. Now the Space Corps goes orbiting by. Oh, goodbye, my friend, in the glowing twilight's cry, and then we'll echo through the void where the galaxies all lie. Though we miss you on Earth, we're lifting hearts up high as the Space Corps goes orbiting by.
Good evening, everybody. It's your boy Stoney coming to you live from the Space Corps podcast. It must be Friday nights, live every Friday, 8:30 p.m. Central. Come and hang out if you can during the live. If you can't, no big deal. We re-upload this up to all your Spotify's, Rumble, YouTube, you name it. But get on in here if you can. Like, share, subscribe, all the dumb stuff everybody says. Of course, the show cannot be made possible without the help of the sponsors, the TCMFanClub.com. That is the absolute end-all, be-all Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan club. It's completely free. Our co-producer, Brett Gill, Mr. Gilly, is the one that crafted that. Blood, sweat, tears, his hard work, just for us fans. Beautiful thing. There's an old school message board too, so anybody that kind of predates the social media, you may remember we all got together online and got together on message boards. So it's a nice little nostalgic feel. But the other thing we got going on right now too is the Half Moon Designs and Space Corps podcast collabo is live right now. So the ever exclusive and limited Leatherface little toiletry bag is up on the Shopify right now. I think there's only like 3 or 4 left. It is almost sold out already. They're $25, and right now if you use the promo code Space Corps, she's gonna knock like 10% off even more. So check that out before it's too late. And of course, if you want to support the show, we got the merch page up, shop.spacecorpspodcast.com. All of the Space Corps podcast merchandise, Stoney's TCM museum stuff, and you can join the Space Cadet Nation. That is enough plugging my garbage. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having one hell of a night. I'm so excited about this. This man is not only an actor, an art director, a writer, producer, director. You know me, the TCM runs deep. This guy is an absolute legend. He got to play Leatherface, and he killed it in the 2013 Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Dan Yeager. Good evening, sir.
Hello, Sean.
How the heck are you?
I'm tickled pink to be here. I gotta tell you,
man. I was so excited to see that you've like rekindled your online presence. I've just fawning over the whiskey cigar reviews, and it's been excellent to see you around, man.
Yeah, I'm admittedly terrible at it, but you know,
I will never say I'm professional, but we try to put on something fun for this, and to get somebody like
you do a good show.
Well, I appreciate it. It's a massive leap in production value and the overall professionalism, thanks to our co-producer Gilly. He is just a computer wizard. He's builds websites, and all of a sudden he's like, "Look, here's what you need to do. We got to make it look good." And man, I tell you, to trust the people that have play into their strengths, because I can't do this crap, but now it looks pretty nice. So
all right.
Well, for the occasion, I myself like to fancy some whiskeys and some ryes and bourbons, and at my day job, I've kind of got a collection up above my office. I work for an electrical contractor, and the good electricians that understand the golden rule of you don't piss off your tool guy, because then as a thanks for some of these projects that I put up with them, they'll come in and they'll bring in a nice bottle, and I set it on the back shelf. We're renovating our house, and one of the projects we're on now, which is going to be done in the springtime, is our dining room. It's kind of a solarium, but that's where my bar is going to be. So I'm going
Oh,
to have
all right.
a really nice backdrop with all these really beautiful bottles of whiskey and stuff. And
All right.
so I had to bring one tonight. This is the Jephthah Creed, and I didn't even realize it until I was looking at it. This is a 5-year, 8-month. It's 125.58 proof, so
Ooh,
it's gonna have some horsepower to it. But
it's good thing you got some ice there then.
that, yeah, I might be
I
a
was
little,
about to make fun of you for the ice, but no, you want
you
some
know,
ice with that.
oh man. So yeah, with the whiskey, the booze and stuff, I absolutely love it. It's Tell me about what just ignites that passion for you.
Um, it's been it was a slow kindling passion that began, Jesus, 30 years ago,
Okay.
and it's been growing ever since. The older you get, the more and more whiskey tends to appeal.
Sure.
Um, yeah, it's it's designed for us old men. Yeah.
You know, eh,
I'm on Highland Park
ooh,
12.
all right.
This is my favorite. This is my go-to. And to pair with that is my other favorite cigar, which is uh, it's a Romeo y Julieta Medianoche.
Okay.
Just a beautiful, beautiful smoke, man. Excuse me a second. I got to
Please do.
I got to reach the cutter.
Absolutely. Oh,
Uh,
we got a lot of people in the chat right now as well. I definitely want to give some shout outs to everybody there. We've got Gilly, our co-producer. We got Jonathan Watkins. He makes all of the 1/6 scale, beautiful Mad Macabre pieces for your collection, anybody. So if you want to get some custom artwork done for your collection, hit him up. Steve Reed, one of our diehard buddies in the chat, good fan. We even got Kurt Campbell. He plays a Leatherface character in the horrorcore rap world, the old school. So anybody that might have ran with the old ICP, the Juggalo crowd back in Detroit, this guy wore a Leatherface persona, and he is one heck of a cool dude, a good friend of mine. I'm happy to see everybody in the chat. Sean Himes even in there. What's going on, everybody? So cheers to you, sir. Again, this is
and to everybody who's joined us, thank you.
yes, thank you, everyone. Oh God, yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a little young. I like them at least 12 years old.
well, fair enough. And I was kind of I was pressed for time when I was leaving the shop today, and I go, oh my God, so which one am I going to pick? And I just kind of looked and I go, this one. I mean,
Yeah, and bourbons don't need, 8 years is I don't know that bourbons get that much, smoother. Scotches definitely do.
sure,
12 years is
okay,
the right age for a scotch, but a bourbon, yeah, hell, I mean, I drink 3-year-olds.
sure. I definitely might.
I hope nobody clips all this.
It's
Out
not.
of
I will stick up
context.
for everything and say that was out of text. Y'all better
Mhm.
watch yourselves and behave. We got quite a few degenerates that watch the show, but no, nobody's
Yeah,
ever.
well,
No. When I definitely I guess my gateway into it, I was a big Irish whiskey fan,
oh yeah, yeah.
kind of going into those.
What's your go-to Irish?
You know, right now I mean, I don't want to say like, when I first started off, as a young guy, it was like, you thought Jameson was, kind of the higher ends or so, but I've had some Pendleton, some I can't think of the name right now, but the Dew,
Tullamore?
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to kind of get into that, and then also kind of learning some of the Japanese whiskeys and things like that, and then getting into
I
some
have
bourbon.
I've never had a Japanese whiskey, which I need to try it.
I
I watch a lot of samurai movies.
do you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then I got into some bourbons, but Scotch is kind of the next realm for me. I just, it's within all that kind of a dark, you know, area. I got to stay away from the clears. I'm not too great with that. I was never, I don't perform too well on the vodka. You have a little too much,
Yeah,
and
that's too damn easy to drink.
it
That's the
is.
problem.
I'll still have some tequila here and there, get a little rowdy, but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
my age nowadays, I'm a family man. I've got 3 kids. I got a wife. I got a profession, so I gotta behave myself a little more than when I was
Yeah,
younger.
no, the brown liquors are going to be the ones to see you through at this point in your life.
It is. And now the nice thing too is as I'm finally at a spot where, I respect and understand when I've got something nice for sipping instead of just that's not your daily couple of cocktails type of, go-to choice. That's like, all right, we're gonna
Yeah,
have some of that tonight.
yeah. I was cleaning out my storage room, trying to get it organized, and I opened a box, and I'd seen this box before, but I don't know why I never really investigated it. It was a box to store a bottle of Middleton
Mm,
Irish whiskey, which is like I bought it when I had money, and
sure.
it was expensive then, and it's gone, just ridiculous. And so I just thought it was an empty box. I opened it up the other day,
Mhm.
and there's one more drink in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been sitting there for, hmm, let's see, I've moved twice since I put it in there. So yeah, what, 15 years. Um, so I'm gonna wait for my birthday.
Nice.
I'm gonna finish that sucker.
Well, and you were just doing yourself a favor, right? You're like one last ride at some
Mm-hmm.
point, hoping you did
Mm-hmm.
forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good. I think that's definitely that's got to be more of like a man quality trait. Like why didn't you just finish it and get rid of it? No, 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 you don't understand. This is something
Yeah.
special,
Yeah.
and push it off for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, this is really good.
Yeah, when
Also,
you do start to delve into scotches, there are so many different types of scotch,
mm.
the Islays, the Highlands, uh, you know, I would have thought I could think of more types than that. Um, but anyway, they're all very different,
Yeah.
single malts and, blends. Um, yeah, this Highland Park, actually Highland Park, my favorite was always the blend. And when I bought this bottle, I didn't really, you know, pay much attention. I just grabbed the Highland Park box off the shelf, and it turns out it's a single malt, and I didn't even know they made a single malt. But
Mm.
it's really good. I love it.
Well, how long until the birthday's coming around where you're gonna get to
I don't disclose my birthday.
sometime in the future here? That's good enough.
Yeah, it's in the next few months, so
All
I'm
right.
I'm gonna make it.
Oh. Have you ever traveled over to Ireland, or have you ever done any kind of?
I've been to Ireland twice. I've been to England once. Um, I need to get to Germany one of these days.
Mm,
I keep thinking I'm gonna go, but life.
yeah, I absolutely. I fortunately was smart enough, and I'm not even gonna say dumb enough, but to follow my dreams when I was younger, pre kids and all that. I was living up in the UP in Michigan for a little while. I was running some little fast food pizza joints and things, and this is where I
Hmm.
met my now wife. And my whole life I had dreamed of backpacking Europe and
Mm.
just doing that. I took a good 5.5 years of German throughout my younger years, and very passionate on it, and definitely got some German heritage and Irish and Finnish. And I met her, and I was at the point where I was just I want to do this, and it's now or never before you get locked down with kids and a mortgage,
Hmm.
because otherwise,
you're looking at the retirement age when you get to go do what you want, and then you're probably pretty busted up by then. You can't do nearly what you wanted to do. So
Yeah, and if you're an idiot like me, you've ruined your spine to the point you can't do.
sure,
I'm not hiking through
yeah,
anything. I
yeah,
I could barely hike to the front door of the grocery store.
sure. Let
Jesus.
alone sleep on a little thin mattress on a hostel bed or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
But I met her, and yeah, and she, I kind of, talked about that dream, and she said, "Oh my God, me too." And I go, "Really?" I said, "Put your money where your mouth is. Yeah, let's do it." And at that moment, like it was within like a week or so, we sold everything we owned, and I gave my boss, a good heads up, said, "I'm sorry, but taking off." And she had just finished graduating in Northern Michigan University up there. And as a graduation gift, her father took her to Ireland for a tour around the whole
Mm-hmm.
country.
Mm-hmm.
And the last stop was in Dublin at the Guinness factory.
Mm.
And so we crafted the idea that I flew in to Dublin at the end of her thing, and then also we were going to meet at the Guinness factory.
Yeah.
And and her father, I mean, she was an adult by then, but still, it was definitely like, by the way, I'm not flying back with you. Like, why is Sean here? And it worked out great. The Guinness factory is a lot larger than you would than I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful place. Have you ever been there by chance?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
okay. So it's like you make your way up the whole thing, up all the floors, and at the top's a rotating gravity bar, and they give you a couple, vouchers for some fresh pints. And but yeah, there was thousands of people there, and also it was like, oh, and we didn't have cell phones or anything. It's like, how are we gonna find each other? And I got this backpack on me and all this, but
Mm.
we had found each other going up the stairs somewhere, and it was a hallmark moment for sure.
All right. All
But
right.
but yeah, from there we backpacked Europe for 4 months. We just went until we were out of money.
Mm-hmm.
We did 11 different countries, rode trains, hostels, everything on our backs, and I got to make it to Germany, and that was definitely one of my more favorite parts. So I got to do the Oktoberfest while we were there, just
Wow.
coincidentally
Yeah.
with the time, which is absolutely expensive. And if you aren't of the traditional families, we found out that under the big tents, we just we were there in the daytime, and I said, "Oh, let's grab the big the big mugs," and we sat down and had like a currywurst, and it was quiet in there, and there's a lot of space, so we sat at a table, and we had a couple of people tap us, and they go, "You are not allowed to sit here. This is this family's table for the last 300 years. Excuse." Oh my God, so sorry. We got out, but oh, it was so much fun with that. But we went to a little town called Heidelberg, and the most picturesque, beautiful little German town, cobblestone streets on a river, and then a big hill, and at the top was this old castle. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, it's one of the most fondest memories. Just sitting in, like, we were at a coffee shop, and I was just looking outside and just the people watching, and everybody, or not everybody, but so many people just had the same mannerisms as you, and you started to realize, like, just the core
Mm-hmm.
hereditary and wherever you came from. I was just like, man, it was gorgeous. I could have just stopped and lived there for the rest of my life, but she was getting some homesick, and so we finally made it
Yeah.
home. But
Yeah. It's the Germans. I mean, I'm German, Yeager,
yeah,
obviously. Um, uh, German by way of Ireland. My
sure,
apparently my German ancestors went to Ireland before they came here. Um,
okay,
but yeah, Germans are a particular breed, a particular we we have some distinctive traits.
yeah,
I don't have them all. Mine are well blended with the Irish, so
sure,
that need for precision,
mm,
um, um, the rather stoic uh, personality, I guess, too.
oh, absolutely. One thing that really did bail me out too is that my just having that German, language, was very rusty by the time we went there. And I had, been a good 10, 15 years since I'd been out of school, but it came back to me, and it sure helped out. And
Hmm.
I had gotten some compliments, from, like, I just remember this older German lady on one of the trains, and she's like, your pronunciation, your accent in it is very nice. And I was like, dude, that was
Hmm.
such a whatever. But it helped us out, kind of in the more stranger ways where I thought that was going to apply in Germany, but we were in the Czech Republic, we were in Prague, and my wife's, or my, at that time she was my girlfriend, but her luggage suitcase, the wheel had broken off and it just, it just kind of fell apart. So we had to go buy something, and we were at just a random corner store in Prague, and we saw this piece of luggage that was, within our price range. It was cheap, and so we went to go get it. But all of a sudden, the guy was trying to charge us way more for it, and all of a sudden we're trying to say, "Hey, this is," and he goes, "No English." And if you want to talk about like a blend of culture, I mean, obviously America's very blended and things like that, but it blew my mind once you start throwing in the aspects of so many different languages and things.
Hmm.
It was a Japanese man that owned a store in the Czech Republic, and he spoke German.
Hmm.
And just to me that was like it was such an aha moment. But I, we were trying to tell him, hey, this isn't the right price. He didn't get it, but then I heard him talking on the phone. He was talking in German, and I said, so I started talking to him, and we were able to get it all figured out, and it worked out.
Hmm.
But yeah, you talk about just like, man, some of the skills that all of a sudden can really come in handy there. It's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
had when I was in the construction business, building luxury homes in Pacific Palisades
Mm,
and out in Malibu and whatnot. I had an electrician from Paris,
okay.
Jean-Paul Bringuet.
Ooh.
I don't say that correctly, but that's as close as I can get.
Sounded good to
Anyway,
me.
he spoke French, Italian, and Armenian.
Wow.
And he had, because of his crew, they were all there, man, and just listening to him talk. German is kind of comprehensible to me.
Hmm.
The
Sure.
they say English is a Germanic language,
Yes.
which doesn't mean that it comes from modern German, but they both come from the same thing, which
Right.
were completely different than what either of us speaks today. But there are when I read German words, I can often figure
Yes.
out what the hell they mean.
Absolutely. I
Just
agree.
kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it does, you have a much better educated guess than probably any other language, as
Hmm.
long as you're an English
Hmm.
speaking native. I did find that too. And maybe not so much in the audible part, but yeah, once you see it written out on there, you're like, "Oh, okay, all right," like kind of get a few things down, but
I
nice
got I
thing.
got I got most of what I understand of German from books about Frank Lloyd Wright,
Okay.
uh, the architect, and some of the best books on his work were published in Germany,
Sure.
in German. And
Okay.
so, oh, Schlafzimmer. Oh yeah, all right, I get that.
Now, when you were doing your the trade over there in the Palisades, what did you specialize in? Are you what was your trade?
I started as a draftsman,
Okay.
and this is back in the days when we used uh, ink pen on vellum, and I went to work for this company that developed their own projects. It was an architecture firm, but they also built what they designed.
Oh, cool.
And I got the chance to go out to the job site quite a bit more, uh, because of that relationship. And the more I saw of, actual building, the more I wanted to learn it.
Yeah.
And so, going to night school, I basically I got my general contractor's license, and
Mm,
I wanted to prove to the boss that, yeah, I could run this job site. And eventually he gave me a shot at it, and it was a house I did the plans for, and so he sent me out there and let me build it. Um, I was the only one who could take a project from, design concept to handing over the keys. So that was fun.
Wow.
I learned so much. Jesus.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um, and then I kind of started specializing in interior stuff, um, and went to work for a millwork company,
Okay.
where they did, just everything from, banks and hospitals and hotels and, um, just everything, and
It,
houses, residential.
what was that also like kind of the cabinet shop? I heard there was something like maybe North
Yeah,
Hollywood. Okay,
yeah. I ended up general manager. So
cool. That's I come from a long line of like tradesmen and craftsmen. And my uncle was he not was, but he is an amazing woodworker, and he would
mm,
just he did his normal job, but his passion was definitely woodworking, and just the quality of some of the pieces of furniture he would build. It's just, I mean, it's inspiring. It's not, I just built a dresser for the simple fact I needed a dresser. It was like, no, this is the labor of love and just the beauty of it. And we actually got to finally just get a china cabinet that he had made 30 something years ago, and his two kids, my cousins, they wanted nothing to do with it. He goes,
mm,
hey, he thought he was going to be like blessing them with this
mm,
this hand me down piece, and they were like, no, and he was taken back at it, and my aunt reached out and she said, hey, you have this, we have we bought an old Victorian home up here in Minnesota. It was
mm,
built in 1904. It's just this
mm,
old, you know rundown mansion that they turned into multifamily housing and all this stuff. So we're trying to bring it back to a single family home, which we're doing. But just to match some nice pieces in this that kind of
mm.
aren't necessarily all with the time period, but I was really fortunate to get that, and God, it was just beautiful. So I got such an appreciation for people's trades and skills that they can do, especially working in a construction industry like that. It's like you really start to understand what it takes to put together a building, a house, where it's just
Mhm.
like, I mean, even just the art of drywall. I mean, it's just like, God, I could watch videos
What
forever.
what style would you say your house is?
It was in 1904, so it's I mean, just whatever might predate right before the Art Deco 1920s, I suppose. But it's got the all the features of your butler's pantry. That is, I mean, so many different entrances, and you could tell that there was staff in the house. And at the front, on the main level, it's got this grand staircase, but the woodworking in it is beautiful. But what we really like is in there's two main living rooms down there. So you had the his and her parlor,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
of course the his had it's still got the original emerald green tiling around the fireplace,
Oh,
and
yeah.
these big pillars, and oh God, it's just beautiful. I mean, like I say, it's definitely in very rough shape when we got
What
it.
kind what kind of wood is it? Mahogany or oak?
I think it's a mahogany, because it's dark, but when the sun hits it, it's golden, and it kind of lights up a little bit more.
A real fine grain?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the
Oh, the mahogany.
intricacies of some of that, like where the pillars are, I mean, just the borders. And we were there for probably 3 months, and we realized there's like little hearts etched into this one
Mhm.
certain parts. I mean, you
Mhm.
just, God, you have such an appreciation. Like, they just don't make that anymore, where it's
Yeah.
just like, you just produce just to make something at a cost effective matter, just to get your product out there. It's like, this was the labor of love, and
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I see a lot of old antique furniture for sale around
mm,
here, and the Eastlake style was, I guess, all the rage back in the late 19th century here.
okay.
Because that's probably half of what you see. There's not a lot of the cool, kind of Victorian Gothic style stuff, but
Yeah,
which is more of what I'm looking for. But
sure.
I I don't I don't know. I've 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 said it publicly before. My wife and I, we live in an old Baptist church.
Oh, wow.
And it was built originally in 1856.
Wow.
It was one of the first churches in our little village, and beautiful, beautiful old place. But it's been renovated and added on to several times. Most recently I think in the 50s or 60s. But you go up into the bell tower, and there's this huge old bronze bell up there. But the thing is built out of 8x8 on up oak timbers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all mortise and tenon joinery, with pegs, driven into them to hold them fast. It's an amazing old building.
Wow.
I just we love it. We're trying to take care of it. It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I can definitely feel you on that part. It's
Mhm.
there's something about though just being in the presence of something with such history and age to it too, or
Yeah,
it's
definitely. Yeah, I'm working on. I've been dabbling with the idea of showing movies, but I haven't really gotten my act together.
okay.
Um, but we've got it. We've left the sanctuary pretty much as is. We haven't divided it up into little spaces. There's an entire level down below where we do most of our living.
Sure.
And we got bedrooms and the kitchen and bathrooms and all that stuff's down there. But upstairs we've left open, and there's a big wall that I can project movies onto. And I finally got my 3D uh, system working.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to show Texas Chainsaw 3D this year.
Absolutely.
I've made the promise, but I also I found an incredible website. It's called don't let me get this wrong. I think it's called DVD Party.
Okay.
The guy, I talked to him on the phone. There was a problem with the website, so I called him and he answered the phone. I thought, oh, this is cool. But the catalog is just amazing. He's got a whole 3D section, and they're all old anaglyph 3D, with the cyan and magenta glasses.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I ordered them and the Tingler.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna as my first test case. Those should be here soon. And anyway, we'll see if we can make that work.
Sure. A little
But
glitch
so
here with my-
everybody in the Finger Lakes region of New York should be on the lookout for screenings of such Hollywood gems.
It sounds awesome. I had a little problem with my web camera here real quick, so sorry for the little whatever this is. There's always
Yeah,
something that's got to go on. Jonathan Watkins is asking, Dan, what was your most memorable moments wielding the saw in that movie?
oh, that's that. Oh man, my memory as a cognitive function is pretty dismal, but so much of that experience is absolutely ingrained in my brain. Yeah, the most memorable. There were so many, and most of them without the saw. The most fun I had with the saw was there's a scene where uh, the girls and what was his name? Trey Songz. what was his character's name? See what I told you about my memory?
Hey.
It's garbage.
Hey.
But anyway, eventually the van flips over and old Leatherface comes at him and he's trying to get him. And the thing is on its side and he can't quite get at him through the sliding door. And so he rolls the van onto its roof.
Okay.
And then he goes at him through the window and busting out those windows. That was so much fun. And that was where we really discovered the fatal flaw in the chainsaw as an implement of menace. Because the van was full of their stuff, and so it was just strewn all over the place, and the girls are trying to get away from the saw. And at one point there was a blanket in the van, and it just caught a thread of that blanket and the saw immediately stopped. Yeah, chainsaws can be undone by a handkerchief.
Sure.
It's sad. It's sad to admit. They're a great cinematic device. They're a great weapon because you can hear them long before you see them.
Right.
And that's the dread. Is, oh no, he's coming. We can hear the saw. And when you start one up, it's, oh, all right, it's on. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, it's not so many weapons have such a visual, terrifying, alerting, part to it. It's just that in itself is just.
Yeah, and if they're scary machines, man.
Sure.
Just
I had Kurt, who plays Madness, who's the Leatherface in the horrorcore there. He says, didn't Dan and Gunner talk about acting as Leatherface? You remember having any kind of coaching moments or anything with him?
Oh yeah. Well, by the time Gunner arrived on set, there was all this drama that had necessitated basically going to a 24-hour shooting schedule. And so what they would do is they would shoot one thing during the day and another thing during the night.
Okay.
And it was two separate crews, so there was an A crew and a B crew. And when they shot the assault on the Sawyer house, that was A crew shooting during the day. And the scene where Gunner is sitting at the window telling him, give him the boy.
Yeah.
And I was actually shooting I think I was shooting the shot where Leatherface is looking for Heather and she's hiding in the coffin.
Okay, yeah.
And so that actually there were actually two separate cemetery sets. One was in the actual yard of the mansion. When you see Heather fall down the front steps and go running, and she jumps over the little fence and falls.
Yeah.
And is trying to hide from Leatherface, and Leatherface has come ambling along, and he steps over the fence gingerly because he'd been there before. And that's one cemetery. And then they built a duplicate cemetery on the Camp Minden was this military base. It was some kind of a weapons depot
Oh, really?
or something. I don't know. It's this big military base outside of Shreveport, and that was where we built the house, our replica of the Sawyer house. And so I was a couple of miles away, still on the military base, shooting this night scene. And anyway, I heard Gunnar Hansen was in town, and I knew he was going to be at the house, which I hadn't seen. So I had, I had forsaken sleep and went to meet Gunnar for the first time. And yeah, they they had a nice crew tent set up with air conditioning, fortunately. And we got to sit there and talk for quite a while. He we were 3 weeks into doing the thing, so I had pretty much, been set in my ways of what I thought I should be doing. But that the conversation was basically me admitting to him that my entire process was ripping off everything he did as
Yeah.
mercilessly and unapologetically as possible. And he was just such a nice guy. Jesus. Yeah, we didn't have nearly enough time together.
Sure. Did you guys keep in touch after the shooting of the movie and that? Is there?
Oh yeah. I went to see him, and he lived on Mount Desert Island in Maine, and the summer after, we took a trip, went to see him. It was shortly after that he was going on his book tour for Chainsaw Confidential.
Yes.
And he did a couple of book signing events in LA. I went to both of those. And then every time, we were at the same convention, I always made a point of having a couple of Hoya de Nicaragua cigars in my pocket.
All right.
Because I figured that would guarantee me at least an hour.
Yes.
And yeah. One time we were at a show with Bill Johnson.
Yeah.
And we there was a barbecue joint not far from the hotel. I remember we all walked over to that barbecue joint, had barbecue. It was a good time. Yeah, I miss that guy.
Yeah, and isn't it just quite fitting where having some barbecue? I got to meet Bob Elmore shortly before he passed. He came up to Minneapolis for a convention with Carolyn Williams, and I brought my daughter. She's 11 years old. It's kind of our thing we go to, and I've got so many things I have that I want signed. My personal collection type of things. I bring kind of the big stuff that you wouldn't normally ship across the country and never want it to get lost. So, I kind of showed up with a wagon, and they kind of look and they go, "Oh, wow, some really interesting stuff." And I go, there's a lot of people that want to meet you. I said, I got all day. I'd like to just kind of hang out. I'll get back in the rotation, get a few things signed, let some other people go through. And he really took a shining to my daughter, you know, and he gave her a little button and some stuff and was, you know, kind of razzing her up a little bit. But, you know, we were sitting there talking, and then I happened to look down, and, you know, on his own free will, Bob's just sitting there eating a bowl of chili, you know,
Mhm.
just go, it's just so just almost comedic, you know, and then he started telling me about, you know, his grandmother's chili recipe and stuff. And, you know, what a sweetheart of a guy too. And I know you've must have at least met him a few times. I saw there's that movie that came out in 22, the Once and Future Smash. I haven't seen that, but I know you were credited in there along with John Dugan and
Mhm.
so I'm not too sure on that, a lot of that, but I saw Bill Johnson and Bob Elmore was there, but it sounded like it was in like a convention setting. So do
Yeah,
you
yeah. It's a. I haven't seen the entire movie. I've only seen bits of it.
okay.
Um, the premise is that uh, there's this old horror movie made back in the 70s that they were going to do a revival,
Mm,
and the original guy who played uh, I forget, I guess his name was Smash.
okay. All right.
Um, he's, you know, showing it was a whole thing. I Anyway, Neil Jones is the one who came up with the entire thing and made the movie. And um, nice guy, um, a fixture at horror conventions for a long
Sure.
time. And anyway, he was basically going around to everybody he could get to do it. And he basically just give you the premise. He says, "All right, you know, I'm gonna interview you about this
Oh, okay.
fictitious movie."
Cool.
And just he said, just riff on it, you know. And so that's what everybody did. It's just totally improv, you know.
Yeah.
The whole that entire element of the movie was all improv.
That's
But it was
awesome.
fun. Yeah, and you know, I think it was well received too. You know,
I'm gonna have to look at. I mean, I was looking at just all the cast or just the credits, and even like Joe Castro. You know, he's a special FX guy.
uh huh,
I had him on the podcast a little while ago too. He's a great human being, and just to see all that. But that's almost what it seemed like. I'm like, they just must have literally been at a convention while they did this, and just kind
yeah,
of.
many conventions.
Oh
I
wow.
think you know, it took them a few to
Well,
get
for
it
everybody
done.
watching this, again, that's the Once and Future Smash. Well, go find it. I'm sure it's on Tubi or Shutter or something. But it was a 2022 release, so not old at all. But I had a question for you. I heard that you had gotten into almost developing like a reality TV, or at least a plot or a pilot or something. Is that something that you did at one point?
Yeah, actually, that was kind of my foot in the door of the industry again.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, I was just taking acting classes and trying to get back into the business after, you know, really just I'd spent 20 years in LA, you know, doing a little amateur theater and, you know, bullshit stuff.
Sure.
But I I quit the millwork business and, you know, was pondering what to do with the rest of my life.
Sure.
And I decided, oh, I want to be in the movie business. I'm in LA. I might as well be in the movie business.
Sure. Makes sense.
And so anyway, I've taken acting classes, and I found this one acting class that was entirely focused on camera acting technique, which
Okay.
is vastly different than, you know, a stage production. You know, it's a different dynamic altogether and a completely different set of skills. There's the baseline, you know, you still need to be able to act, but you need to be able to do it in a completely unnatural, you know,
Hmm.
non-linear way,
Sure.
because that's just the nature of movies. Anyway, the guy who ran that school had this concept for uh, for this reality TV show. He used to crew on all sorts of big movies. He was a set medic mainly, um, but he would watch how uh, actors would constantly derail these productions and cost so much waste in, time and resources, that he kind of came up with his own concept of how to teach actors how to act in a movie,
Okay.
how to be on set, and actors are a fascinating breed. And anyway, it quickly evolved into this reality show concept of people who are trying to break into Hollywood.
Cool.
And so anyway, he started putting this thing together, and we were sitting in class one day, and I said to him, just kind of off the cuff, I said, why the hell isn't this a reality show?
Yeah.
And he had never said anything about doing the show. He's oh, interesting. He says, see me after class.
Excellent.
And he said, I'm working on this thing. He says, you seem to have some insight into this that most actors don't. Maybe you could, you'd be good to help on this. I says, I'll do anything I can.
Sure.
I says, I can build shit, and I understand the basics of electricity, and and so anyway, we started working on this thing, and with no money. And one of the contacts he had from his past production work was the producer who had just bought the rights to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise.
Oh, really?
And so he calls him, and he didn't know this. That wasn't the purpose of him calling. He just wanted, a real Hollywood producer involved. And so he calls him up, and he gets him to come over and help us out. And, we're shooting this stuff. And anyway, that was where I met him, and we became friends. We both liked cigars and whiskey, and,
was that Carl?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so anyway, that was kind of the genesis. I already forgot what your question was.
Well, who cares about all that? No, that's putting in the, no, it was just the idea of the plot of the reality show. But so that predates the Texas Chainsaw, era.
Yeah,
Interesting. I thought that came afterwards.
No, it was about 2 years later to the day I was standing on the set of Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Wow. So you didn't even have to really audition then for the Leatherface part. It was just he knew you and he goes, hey, I want you to do this.
Yeah, no, I had never mentioned to him that I was an actor. And in this production we worked on together, I was not an actor. I was just strictly, and because he, like I say, actors are a very particular breed.
Sure. Yes.
And they're hard to be around sometimes. And so, but anyway, I never said, oh, put me in a movie. I would never do that. So I watched so many people, just so desperate to be in a movie, and I watched how he had to deal with that. It was painful.
Yeah.
And so I would never do that because we were friends,
Sure.
We're just, I valued his friendship. And anyway, it was toward the end of 2009. No, when the hell was it? It was toward the end of 2010. We were actually building a trellis for his rose garden. He had a little tiny house up in the Hollywood Hills.
Okay.
And it was, it was just on this little weird piece of land, and there was just enough room. And he had rose bushes, and he needed one of those trellises, the arched trellises.
Yeah.
And let's build something nice. So anyway, we were working on that, and anyway, it was the end of the day. He said, "Oh, we should go out to dinner." We used to always go to the Hamburger Hamlet on Sunset Boulevard. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I've got a thing." And he said to me, he said, "You're doing a play, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I am," because I wouldn't lie to him.
Sure.
And he said, "Well, are you going to invite me?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, a friend, would invite another friend to their show." I said, "Well, I was going to wait and see if it was any good before I even considered it, but I will make sure you have a ticket." And so I got him tickets for closing night, and the show was an amateur production of a British pantomime, which is not no talking Marcel Marceau, I'm stuck in a box. A British pantomime is more Monty Python, Benny Hill type humor.
All right.
For children, with several levels of entendre. But anyway, I played the character of Herbert the Horrible Ogre.
Okay.
And the play was Puss in Boots, and Puss was played by my current wife.
Really?
Oddly enough, that was where we met. And so anyway, it was a short time before that one of our mutual friends, another he was a movie director, that Jeff Celentano. I took acting classes from him, and we were all friends. We were hanging out in the cigar bar, and Jeff knew, my acting skills.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Carl when we were sitting at the cigar joint. He says, "Oh, how's Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming?" And Carl said something to the effect, "Don't even ask." It was apparently a difficult,
not going good.
a difficult challenge.
Really?
And he said, and Jeff said, "Well, you know who'd make a good Leatherface?" And Carl innocently said, "Who?" He said, "Dan." That was the first ever mention of my playing Leatherface. And I kind of shrank from it. I didn't, let's not go there. Let's just have our cigars and enjoy ourselves.
Wow.
And so anyway, it was not too long after that he came to see this show. And I play this monster in the show.
Yeah.
And come booming on the stage in the final act, to the screams of the crowd. And, I'm up there with all these little tiny British actors. And it looked kind of silly, but he realized, oh my God.
Yeah, sure.
And, there's a, it was at that point, he said, he actually, we went out to a bar after the show, a whole gang of us, and he ran into somebody he knew from the business, and he said, "I want you to meet Leatherface." And he introduces me to him. I forget who it was, but anyway, and then he kind of backpedaled. He said, and he explained the dynamic because he had hired his other friend, John Lessenhop, to direct the thing.
Okay.
And he said, I can't, I'm never going to shove an actor down a director's throat.
Okay.
He says, he says, anyway, he arranged a meeting shortly afterward between me and John Lessenhop, and and it was unbeknownst to either of us. He basically invited us to the same party.
Mm.
And I'm not a party guy. I'm not good at parties. I enjoy them, but I'm not really a participant. And my I hang back and I just kind of enjoy the crowd, just watch the dynamic. And I didn't really know that many people there. They were all movie people.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, John eventually wrote a thing for the Huffington Post when Texas Chainsaw was getting ready to release. And it was the story of how he found Leatherface, and he tells a story of this party, and he said that basically he was standing in the kitchen talking to Mark Berg, who was Twisted Pictures, the Saw movies.
Okay, yes.
And he kept looking past Mark as Mark's trying to tell him some very spicy story, apparently. And finally, Mark gets annoyed. He says, something to the effect that she better be really hot, or you're just an asshole. And John says that he told him, he says, I think I'm looking at Leatherface. And it was me. I was standing across the room, glowering at the room.
Yeah.
Just in natural resting glower face. I don't try to glower.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was, and then we met a couple days later and talked about things. He realized, I knew more about Texas Chainsaw Massacre than most of the people he knew. So, anyway, we got along very well, and he basically gave me free rein to make it my own, do it the way I thought it should be done. And
Yeah.
To me, the brief of the whole movie was, not an homage, but certainly respect for the original.
100%.
That was the story we were trying to tell.
Yeah.
Was what happened next.
Well,
that was I don't. Did I answer your question?
Oh, you sure did. I mean,
I don't even remember a question.
And that's the way it definitely comes off. Is like, it's hard. It's hard to pick up where a movie left off from 1974, and now you're in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many. The parts I always feel for, like, you and and some of the other guests I've had on that play Leatherface and stuff. I go, the critiquing of the elitist fans and things like that, where it's like, well, it's not Tobe Hooper's. No, it's not, and it's not ever going to be. And we didn't try, but we came at it with an angle of respect. I had counsel from Gunner. And we made a chainsaw movie, and that's how it came off.
Actually, opening weekend, which the movie opened #1 at the fucking box office opening weekend.
I saw it when it was in the theaters. I went and saw that. I was in high school. It was great.
The Carl threw another party up at his house.
Yeah.
Saturday night. And it was just getting better and better, the numbers. And anyway, that was where I met Tobe Hooper.
Really?
And we had a couple of cigars, talked. I can't even, I don't know. I was a bit I fanboyed out, I'll admit.
Sure.
Um and
Understandable.
and anyway, he, I asked him, you know, how he felt about all this because I didn't know, how
Yeah,
it was really going to be perceived.
sure.
I had seen the movie. They did a screening for us at Lionsgate, um, but I knew we were certainly running the risk of offending him.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
With. I mean, it's a completely different style of movie and everything. He said. He said basically, I asked him what he thought of Leatherface. He said, we've been through so many iterations of
Mhm.
concepts of the Texas Chainsaw
Yeah.
Massacre and the remake and the prequel from
Yes.
2006 were extreme departures. And so ours was the next one after that. And
Mhm.
he said to me, he said, it was good to see Leatherface back on the screen.
Oh, cool.
And I said, well, there have been plenty of. He says, no, no. He says, you got the original character that we had created, that had been, explored in all sorts of tangents subsequent. But he said, it was nice to see that character continue. So I was pleased. He was happy. And I mean, the party went on until 3 or 4 in the morning, and Toby and I were pretty much, and my wife was still there,
Mm.
very tired. Um, we were the last ones standing, and we were sitting in the. I remember sitting in the dining room, and even Carl was exhausted, rightfully so. Um, and with I realized, oh well, we should probably leave. And so we were trying to say our goodbyes, and Toby, I stand up to leave, and Toby stands up, and he says, "Do you mind if I give you a hug?"
Aw.
And it was, of course, Jesus,
Yeah.
bring it in and make it last,
Sure.
But I'd heard
Wow.
so many people tell so many stories about Toby Hooper, and he was mean, and you know oh, that was not my experience at all.
Sure.
He couldn't have been kinder to me, and
Wow.
more generous. Jesus,
Yeah.
him and Gunnar both, they were both such gems.
You
Anyway,
know, well,
don't make me cry.
no, I'm getting there. I'm trying to push those buttons. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, I've everybody else that I've met too. I mean, I've had Alan Danziger on. I've had John Dugan. I mean, just everybody is just such kind-hearted people.
Hmm.
And you're just following suit in it too. Where I'm so happy just to get to kind of pick your brain and talk about things like this. And it's so nice for everybody that watches the show because I mean, a lot of us are a lot of Chainsaw fans, and we just get to get these inside perspectives where you might be able to go to a convention and meet somebody and have a little quick conversation and get a little tidbit. But I mean, for the most of us out in the States, we're nowhere near these conventions. So it's like these stories mean so much. And I think like, just hearing that with, how Toby, how did you feel about how I did? You know, but my thoughts on it though too is that, you're talking to the man that made the original, but then he also made a very different version in the 80s as well. So it's like to me, it almost that leaves that artistic, you know, just freedom out there to kind of interpret in different ways where he's okay with that. But
Hmm.
I think that's definitely what a compliment that, it's fine to it's good to see him back, like no, these other ones have played. No. he's back. Like, beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, it was it I mean, the movie got a lot of hate, like every, you know, I would hate to have made a movie about which people were ambivalent.
Mm,
The 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 passions run high, which
sure.
is good. That's what you want. Um, but you know, no criticism ever landed with me after talking to Toby about it,
Yeah.
because I always had that in my back pocket is, fuck you, because Toby said it was good.
Right. Yeah,
you know
exactly. Like, doesn't matter. Um, and so on that other part too, I mean, just it's so interesting with that movie because just the cameos of the original cast. I mean, again, you had John in there, but you also had Marilyn in there. And
Mhm.
did you how was that with her? Did you spend any time with her? As any kind of fond memories that I mean, she seemed like she was a very, very nice woman.
Yeah, well, actually, the very first thing that I shot was that little bit you see after the credits run. Do you ever stay through the credits?
Oh yeah, yes.
And where Heather's parents come knocking on the
Yeah.
door.
Yep.
Um, that was the very, very first thing I shot on the movie, was bursting through that door. And actually, as a little aside, we learned a number of things. The entire crew learned a number of things about how to shoot a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie with a real chainsaw. By the way,
Yeah.
the what you don't see in the movie, they cut before we played out the rest of what we actually did that day. Um, the What was her name? Sue Rock, and not terrible. My memory, anyway. Leatherface comes, shows up at the door with his chainsaw going,
Mm.
and they turn and run. And there's a walkway out the front door. You go down those steps that Heather had fallen down and everything,
Yeah.
and they go taking off on this walkway that goes way out. And there's actually a road there. In the movie, you never see the road. The house is back in the woods somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anyway, they go running, and they said just chase them with the chainsaw. Well, Sue Rock gets about 20 yards down the walk, loses a shoe, falls,
Oh no.
gets back up, and I'm, doing my lumbering, chasing them with the saw,
Sure.
revving it to, and smoke everywhere. The chainsaw is smoking like a son of a gun. And anyway, we find they get to the street, and I realize there's no way we're still visible from the cameras,
Yeah.
that are way back at the house. And so anyway, I find this is ridiculous. I got to stop. And I turned around, and basically everybody back at the crew is just laughing. Apparently they called cut, you know, way back
Oh.
when Sue tripped and fell.
Yeah. But you couldn't hear
But
it.
with the chainsaw, yeah,
That's
nobody could
awesome.
hear you yell cut. And so anyway,
Oh,
but that
that's
that
funny.
that was where I met
Marilyn.
Marilyn Burns.
Wow.
She was in her full grandma garb,
Yeah.
and I was standing there in the dining room with the rest of the cast. We were all there, and she comes in, and she's greeting everybody, and she takes my hand, and she says, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you," and she pats my hand,
Aw.
and she was just this frail old woman. And oh, I and she just gushed. And I mean, I was you know afterwards I was thinking, wait a minute, that was Marilyn Burns.
Yeah.
White pants, Marilyn Burns. That's what I remember.
Yes.
Holy cow, she really got old. And I was kind of surprised. And so anyway, then the only thing she and I shot together was after she was already dead, and I had to carry her dead body back to her coffin in the ground and rebury her. And we shot that entire thing. I have some production stills from it.
Cool.
And I had worked out the whole business of how I was going to, lay her down into the coffin and everything. And in the original, when Leatherface and the hitchhiker carry Grandpa down from upstairs and set him up at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Leatherface is just he pats his head and he like gives him a little kiss, and he's just a sweet boy. And I wanted to kind of call back to that. That was the one thing. And so I had rehearsed with a friend of mine the night before we were going to shoot this. She was in the coffin, and I was, worked out all the business of how to do it. And so anyway, I did it, and they shot most of this pretty wide. And anyway, I give her a little kiss and layered into the coffin, and I close the lid and give it the time it needs. It was a very emotional thing. Yeah. And I'm in the mask, I'm weeping, and anyway, I get up and then I have to start shoveling dirt back onto her coffin. And she's in the fucking coffin.
Really?
Bless her heart. And so anyway, finally, this went on, longer than I was comfortable burying a living person.
Yeah, we're going to call cut here or what?
And so anyway, finally, John said cut. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the house.
Wow.
It was it was the epitome of tragedy. And unfortunately, when you make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, you don't want your audience leaving the theater crying.
Yeah, you want them scared as hell.
And so they couldn't use any of it.
Oh, wow.
The only thing you see is basically a shot of my foot kicking some dirt into the grave.
Oh.
That's the sum total of what they could use.
Is it disorienting as an actor when, you realize that as they shoot a movie, it's not just linear, from just start to finish, where they have you bouncing from scene to scene? Is it kind of hard to really comprehend the entire story of what's going on, because it's just so...
No, that's part of the skill that you really have to develop.
Okay.
Is
knowing the script.
Yeah. Right? Understanding where you are in the story at any given moment, and what it takes to tell that story in that moment.
Sure.
It's and what so many actors miss is that, despite what your acting coach told you, the camera cannot see what you're thinking or feeling.
Yeah.
Unless it manifests physically. You have to show it. You have to do something with it. And so anyway. Oh, but one of the thing about Marilyn and her being this frail old lady.
Yeah.
She called me a few months after the movie came out and wanted to know if I was interested in doing some chainsaw event thing. And I'm talking to her on the phone, and I started thinking, well, wait a minute, is somebody just pranking me? Because she was this, just kind of bubbly, flirtatious Marilyn Burns on the
Okay.
phone.
Yeah.
And then I had met her we didn't end up doing that event, but I had met her at a show, and she was just this vivacious, very flirtatious person. A lot of fun, just, not inappropriate by any means,
Sure.
but just, really, she was not some frail little old lady. And it was at that point I realized, oh my God, she made me bury my own fucking grandmother,
Wow.
you know, as
Just
an
that in
actor.
character.
Yeah.
Wow.
As an actor,
That's
you don't,
amazing.
you don't get opportunity. I got something in my eye.
That's
Sorry.
amazing. No, they're
Anyway.
tears. We get it.
Yeah, no,
I got
I'm
'em
not.
too.
I'm not crying. You're
I
crying.
got them too, brother. This is amazing right here. So, what is your take on the convention thing? Like, so when the movie came out, 2013. When was the first time that you had kind of experienced that all of a sudden, like this fandom and that whole atmosphere? Because that's a whole nother animal, of just legacy and I mean, you don't
Yeah,
get that.
I haven't done a lot of conventions. I've done a few,
Sure, but you've done a
and
few. I mean,
I always enjoy them.
yeah,
I'm supposed to do one in at the end of May
cool.
in New Jersey, I think.
Yeah, there you go, New Jersey fans.
But yeah, no, I talking about meeting actors, meeting fans. I came up with a theory, and I don't know if it's correct, but I'm going to stick with it.
All right, let's hear it.
To enjoy horror movies in particular as an entertainment, to get some human reward out of it, I think requires an elevated sense of empathy. You need to be able to feel what you're seeing these people go through in a horror movie.
Absolutely.
And we hope they triumph, and even when they don't, there's still emotional reward, because you're able to empathize.
Absolutely.
And so I think horror fans have an elevated sense of empathy, and that just makes them nicer than the average person you would meet on the street.
Sure.
There's a lot of there's kind of a subgenre, of really violent and gory horror that attracts a minority of non-traditional horror fans who
That's
are
fair. Yeah.
I don't know. But even like the Saw movies were, just really, they kind of upped the ante for the gore and violence, but still, they kind of unflinchingly make you have to endure what those people are going through. I think other genres of film tend to glorify violence and whatnot. But horror, really doesn't. I mean, you really need to have some sense of empathy to enjoy them, I think.
I agree too, and I think, like you said, there's a sub core that are just in it for the devastation, the gore, and that's all they care about, and that's got to be excluded from that statement. It's everybody else that just in general,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a minority of people,
yeah,
I would say.
and I pair that the same kind of way. I was just talking to one of my friends about, like, people that listen to, like, like heavy tunes, metal music and stuff like that. They're some of the more nicest, kindest
Hmm.
people. I mean,
Hmm.
you go to, most again. There's always those outliers and that sub, small percentage. But you go to a a metal show, and you're in a mosh pit. It's the most friendliest, thing, and the fact that it's a sense of community and everybody looks out for each other. I mean, somebody falls
Hmm.
down, everybody's getting you up. I mean, like, they care about each other, and
Hmm.
that's that empathetical, portion of it. And I really think my statement that I kind of thought in my head today about it is, I think that's the balance of the individual, of, like, you need to have, the yin yang, the opposites, where it's like, yeah, it might be really extreme music, but it balances out because I'm a very kind and gentle person in general, where if all you do is you act that way and that's what you listen to, you're off balanced. And maybe that doesn't
Yeah,
fit for everything.
and I think, you know the critique of non fans of metal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just noise. Well, to them it is,
Sure. Yeah.
because they don't.
Understandably.
Yeah,
You know.
they lack whatever that you know emotional quality is, and I
Yeah.
think it's empathy,
Yeah.
or you know people smarter than me could probably put a finer edge on it, but
Jonathan Watkins says it's therapy. Absolutely.
mhm.
I love that. That's great. I think we're all on to something. It's a very good perspective, I think, to have on there. Um, I got to switch gears for a second because I just got to mention it too. As just with throughout your career and everything that you did, you were a part of the Sharknado universe as well. How did that opportunity come around? I think, was it number 4, or was 4,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I was in Sharknado the fourth. May the fourth be with you, or
May
the
the
fourth
4th.
awakens. I forget something.
Now,
Uh
and you played the character, your name was Gunner, and that's the
huh.
part that intrigued me. Was that by your choice? How,
No,
did you audition? How did that come about?
Anthony Ferrante, the writer director of the Sharknado movies, is
Yeah.
a huge Texas Chainsaw fan,
Killer.
and his it was about a year before I lived in this little town up in the mountains north of LA, and one of my friends was a prop guy, and he worked on the Sharknado movies, and we were hanging out talking at the village fair one night, and he was saying, "Oh, we're gonna eventually do another Sharknado movie." He says, "You should be in it." He said, "Anthony's a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan." I said, "Oh yeah,
Excellent.
I said that'd be fun. Let me know." And so anyway, um, Gunner had passed away,
Hmm.
and Anthony wrote the scene. Well, when they get to Texas, that the kids have to go to this chainsaw shop to get provisions, and he wanted to do a real homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so he got Stretch,
Oh,
and couldn't get. I mean, he he wrote you know the whole thing, and I was, of course, the big silent hulking brother in the back with grandpa. And
Oh man.
yeah, it was less than a week. Actually, I think it was a Sunday. My buddy Pedrick calls me up and he says, "Remember, I told you about the Sharknado movie, and you should be in it." I said, "Yeah." He says, "What are you doing Thursday?" I says, "Oh, I got nothing going." I says, "What?" He says, "Let me send you the script." So he sent me the script, and he had the scene that they wanted me to do highlighted with Gunner. I said, "Well, of course."
That's so cool.
You know. So anyway, that was how it happened. And I will point out that while most cameo makers in Sharknado movies, uh, maybe not most, but certainly, a plurality end up the victims of sharks.
Sure.
Uh, Gunner sliced one in half
With a chainsaw?
with a chainsaw,
God, yes.
with a little
Oh,
chainsaw, but a chainsaw nonetheless.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Again, homage. That's just respect. These
Mhm.
core tenets to what just absolutely makes it all so acceptable. And now, when you said stretch, I mean, do you mean Carolyn was in that
Yeah,
movie too?
Carolyn will. Yeah, and
God, she's such an amazing person too.
my brother was Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Really? Oh,
That was his cinematic debut.
It one and only, or did that?
I think he actually did something else after that.
That's cool.
He was a nervous wreck because he had never
Sure. Why not?
done scripted stuff, and he
Wow.
had some lines in the thing, and he was really worried. I said, "Don't think about the entire thing."
Yeah.
I said, "They're going to cut between you and the other person. Don't, just get one line. Just do one line. That's
Sure.
all you have to do."
Yeah.
And he was kind of right, but he calmed down. He got it together.
That's awesome.
And was good. I thought he did a great job.
Is that younger brother or older?
Who he Yeah, we're
Dude, all right.
actually, I think we're about the same age.
Sorry, get a little too personal. Don't mean it.
I had
Just
a
out of
lot-
curiosity.
Yeah, I remember. I had that was the longest hair I'd ever had in my life too, shooting that movie.
Oh man, yeah. Like I said, when I met Bob, Carolyn was there right across the the little whatever aisle. But you talk about, again, just another great person, and she's so much fun to deal with.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
get to hang out with her
Oh
for a
yeah,
minute, or?
yeah. I think we did it. I think we did it all in one day.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a good day. Yeah, she's really a nice, and I met her at conventions. So
Sure. And it was so much fun meeting her and Bob and their dynamic together, because Bob was such, like, he's probably never said a cuss word a day in his life, and was just so straight shooting kind, and she's just so great, but she was so grateful and appreciative to talk with fans, but the stories that she had, you got to remember it was the 80s. There's a lot of cocaine, this, and they go,
yeah,
oh my God, these, they did a little panel together, but she was just like, so, you could tell there's, go to these conventions. There's some people that are just there just to, make some money, and that's absolutely fine. But she was just there, just happy to embrace and talk to you, and just the eye contact, and again, just a great, sweet woman too. So, wow. Oh, well, sir, this has been quite the evening. I tell you what, and I feel like I could sit and just chat with you for hours and hours. And this is
well,
already
we'll have to get together again one of these days.
I would
Oh.
absolutely love it. So, yeah, again, I appreciate everything that you've done, being up for this. I know everybody watching this has just been, I'm already just hearing just lots of comments, and they're like, this was just the best. This is the insight, everything, the deep moments, beautiful, man. So, I think this is where we should wrap it up, sir.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Good. Well, and if you ever happen to maybe catch a gig that's close to the, the Midwest area, and I'm gonna probably look you up and try to come see you in person here too. It'd be great to see you.
All right.
All right. Well, Mr. Dan Yeager, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out, and we will catch everybody next weekend. Dan, have a great weekend, man.
Thanks, John.
All right. See you, everybody.
In the vast expanse where the cosmos sighs, drifts an ancient tale as old as the skies. A figure from stories now mythified, Space Corpse goes orbiting by. He once roamed planets, oh far and wide, but now he floats where the starships fly. No more breath in his chest, yet can't be denied the space cadet who died. Oh, oh, Space Corpse, in the void you glide, a spectral waltz in the galaxy's tide, floating free like a cosmic guide. Space Corpse goes orbiting by. Galaxies turn while he haunts with pride. No anchor to worlds, just space to bide. Gliding through stardust, no need to hide. This wanderer who never cried. In weightless silence where time collides, he drifts in dreams so amplified. Mysterious tales on mystic rides. Space Corpse haunts so dignified. Oh, oh, Space Corpse, in the void you glide, a spectral waltz in the galaxy's tide, floating free like a cosmic guide. Space Corpse goes orbiting by. Galaxies turn while he haunts with pride. A spectral waltz in the galaxy's tide, floating free like a cosmic guide. Space Corpse goes orbiting by.